Hi everyone, I am Nirav and welcome to SQL Server Always on Configuration video series. So in earlier video, we have successfully configured the failover cluster. Now in this video, we will install the SQL Server on both SQL Node 1 and SQL Node 2. After that, we will create a 3 sample database and after that we will configure the always on availability group. So now for installing the SQL server, we will require one service account. So let's first create a service account in a domain controller server. So click on Node DC machine, click on connect button, download the RDP. So type dsa.msc domain service account. So click your domain name, say sqlbrainbox.com, click on username and type new, go to new and create a user. So I am creating SQL SVC1. Copy using login name and give a password. Password never expire. You cannot change the password. Click on next and click on finish button. So now we have successfully created a SQL Server service account on a domain controller server. Now go to the node 1. So we have already copied the SQL Server media file on a node 1. Now just right click on the media file and mount. Click on mount. So now it will take a time. Yeah. So now the SQL Server setup file will be available. Right click and type run as administrator. So go to the installation, click new server standalone installation. Click on next button. Click on next. Click on next. Click on next button. Here select the only required features. So I am going to select database engine services, SQL Server application services, client tool backward compatibility and the client tool connectivity. Click on next. So we will go with the default instance here. Click on next. You have to make sure that you have to configure the service account. So just type the SQL brainbox, your domain name / SQL, your service account name and give the password. Same for the database engine. And click on next button. So add a current user, next and click on install button. Similarly, we have to install the database engine on node 2. So let's install. So select the node 2. Right click the file, mount. Right click and run as administrator. Go to the installation, new server, standalone installation. Click on next. Click on next. Click on next. Select the same database engine services, SQL Server application, client tool connectivity. Click on next. We go with the same default configuration. Give the service account name. Add current user. Click on next. And so now it will take 10 to 15 minutes. So now the SQL Server installation completed on a both node 1 and node 2. So this is node 1, node 2, and this is node 1. So click on close button. Click on close. Now we are going to install the SQL Server Management Studio in any of the one node. Either you can install in the SQL node 1 or SQL node 2. So I am going to install in a SQL Server node 2. Yeah. So now the Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio setup completed. So click on close button. Now here we have to first enable the always on availability group. So just type the configuration manager. So click on SQL Server Configuration Manager. Go to the SQL Services. Right click. Go to the property and always on high availability. So we have to enable it first. Apply and OK. So it will require restart. So let's restart it. So now go to the SQL Server Configuration Manager, enable the TCP IP, and if you want to enable the name pipes, then do it. Go to SQL Server and restart. Go to the node 2, same, node 1, sorry, and open the Configuration Manager. So first let's enable the name pipes and TCP IP. After that, let's enable the SQL Server Always on Availability group and restart the SQL Server services. So now in node 1 and node 2, we have enabled the always on high availability and restart the SQL Server services. Now let's open the Management Studio. So now we will configure the always on availability groups. So open the SQL Server Management Studio. Connect the server. So you can connect either node 1 and node 2. Create the database. So here I am going to create 3 databases. So AG1, AG2 and AG3. And let's take a full backup to make sure the database in the full recovery mode. Okay, so now the backups completed. Now click on always on high availability. Right click and click on new availability group wizard. Click on next. Give the availability group name. So I am giving the name AG. Click on next button. Select the database. So here I am selecting all three databases. Click on next. Now here the node 1 would be the primary. Click on this automatic failover and availability mode synchronous commit. Add a SQL node 1. So add a replica and type SQL node 1. So now SQL 1 node 1 is our secondary. Check the automatic failover and set the availability mode. Either you can select the synchronous or asynchronous. So here I am going to select the synchronous commit. Okay. So now there is no readable replica. So now here if you have a 3 node cluster, you can add one more node and set the readable replica yes. So as we discussed earlier, so in the secondary replica, readable replica, you can transfer your some of the role like reporting requirement or backups you can configure on the readable secondary node. Okay. So click on next. Here there are 4 methods: automatic seeding, full database and log backup, join only, and skip initial data synchronization. Here I am going to by default select. So in the automatic seeding, the SQL Server automatically create a database for every selected secondary replica. So you no need to create a backup and restore into the secondary replica. SQL Server by default manages it. And automatic seeding requires that a log and data path are same on every SQL Server instances. Okay. So let's click on next button. So now the validation is completed. Click on next and click on finish button. So it will hardly take 2 to 3 minutes. So now the always on high availability groups now configured in a node 1 and node 2. So all the checkpoints are success. Click on close button. Go to the always availability group, availability replica, node 1 and node 2. Node 2 would be the primary and node 1 would be the secondary. Now let's go to the node 1, select the node 1. So here you can see the by default all the 3 database is created. Okay. And the AG would be the secondary. Okay. Now so now let's create a table. So first of all, congratulations, you have successfully configured the always on high availability. Now let's quickly do some testing. So we will create one table on AG1 database and insert data. So we have successfully configured the always on high availability group. Now let's manually switch the primary 1 and primary 2 node. So right now the SQL Server node 2 would be the primary and the SQL Server node 1 would be the secondary. So let's insert some data on a employee table. Yeah. So now let's try to access the node secondary replica. See what happened. So you can't connect the AG1 because secondary node SQL node 1 will be the secondary replica. Okay, so let's insert some data on employee table. And now manually I will switch to the primary and secondary replica. So I'm go to the availability, go to the failover cluster, select the role, right click, move, select the node, and here I am selecting SQL node 1. So now the SQL node 1 become a primary server, and SQL node 2 would be the secondary. So let's quickly check. Click on refresh button. So now, so it will take some time. Yeah. So now the SQL Server node 2 would be the secondary, and SQL Server node 1 would be the primary. So let's connect the SQL Server node 1, select the AG, click on new, and right now see. So now the all the data would be the synchronized in a primary and secondary replica. So there is no data loss in case of any disaster or in case of any failure on the server. You can also check the status. So go to the availability group, right click and show the dashboard. So if you see here, you will get all the information. So see the all the synchronization state will be synchronized, failover, readiness, no data loss, no data loss, no data loss. And so there is a primary one, node 1 would be the primary, node 2 would be the secondary. Okay, so now we have also manually tested. Okay, so yeah, so in this video we have first installed the SQL server, then we have installed the SSMS. After that we have created three databases, AG1, AG2, AG3. We took the database backup to make sure that all the databases are full recovery mode, and we have configured the always on high availability on node 1 and node 2. And after that we have tested, we have manually switched over node 1 and node 2. So we check that there is no data loss and everything is working as expected. Now in the next video, we will configure the load balancer and we will configure the listener. Okay. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video.